We are counting down the 8 luxury brands most at risk of disappearing by 2026. From classic heritage labels crippled by vanishing tourist dollars to billion-dollar giants seeing their once-coveted bags discounted to record lows, these names reveal just how brutal the new crash has become. Which brand is closest to collapse? Let us begin with number 8. Mulberry once stood for British craftsmanship, but the numbers from fiscal 2025 tell a stark story. Revenue collapsed 21% to just over £120 million, while the company posted a pre-tax loss of £31.8 million. Asia-Pacific sales fell 15% as Chinese tourists, once a lifeline for the brand, largely disappeared from London's boutiques and airport shops. To keep the lights on, Mulberry raised £20 million through convertible loan notes in June 2025, a move that signaled just how thin its cash reserves had become. The brand has been closing loss-making stores, especially in Asia, and focusing only on profitable locations. Even the iconic Bayswater bag cannot offset the damage from vanished tourist spend and a shrinking pool of aspirational buyers. Mulberry's small scale and heavy exposure to travel retail have left it dangerously exposed in a market where only the biggest, most exclusive names are still growing. Kate Spade was supposed to be Tapestry's quirky crown jewel. Instead, it's become a financial headache. In the fourth quarter of 2025, sales dropped 13% to $252.6 million, capping a year that saw revenue slide 10%. Tapestry's accountants responded by slashing $855 million off Kate Spade's goodwill value, a staggering write-down for a brand acquired at $2.4 billion just 8 years ago. The story is all too familiar. Constant creative overhauls, confused messaging, and a sea of discounted bags flooding outlets at 40 to 60% off. 3 straight years of double-digit declines have left Tapestry's margins battered, while executives still promise a turnaround that never arrives. For shoppers, Kate Spade is now the deal you score at the outlet, not the must-have at full price. For Tapestry, it's a drag on the balance sheet that just won't go away. Forever Tillon once dominated American malls with over 300 stores, but its 2019 bankruptcy exposed just how fragile the fast fashion empire had become. After being rescued by Authentic Brands and Simon Property Group, the chain tried to claw its way back, yet shoppers never truly returned. Mall foot traffic stayed weak, and the brand's signature $10 dresses could not compete with Shein and Temu, whose prices undercut even the steepest in-store sales. Every season, margins at Forever 21 shrank further as ultra-cheap online rivals siphoned off its core customers. With no pricing power left and e-commerce giants crushing mall-based retail, analysts warn the next bankruptcy could be final. Ted Baker's collapse was swift and final. After years of struggling to define its identity, the brand entered administration in 2023 as debts mounted and sales evaporated. A United States buyer picked up the pieces, but by early 2024 the damage was clear. Sales had plunged 30% between January and April, and North American operations were soon liquidated. Store closures swept across the continent, with the last shops shuttered by 2025. Behind the scenes, payment systems broke down, and the e-commerce platform was decommissioned at the worst possible moment. Ted Baker's failure shows what happens when a brand runs out of cash and options. The result was empty storefronts and clearance racks. Burberry's numbers for fiscal 2025 stunned the industry. Revenue tumbled to £2.46 billion, a drop of about 15%, and the company posted an operating loss of roughly £3 million, the first time in recent memory that the storied British house slipped into the red. Under the Burberry Forward Plan, management halted dividend payouts and announced the elimination of around 1,700 jobs worldwide, aiming for £100 million in annual savings by 2027. Wholesale revenue collapsed by 35% as Burberry slashed underperforming retail partners, and investors began openly questioning whether the brand's move away from its trenchcoat roots had backfired. Even icons are not immune when strategy misfires and global demand dries up. The scale of the fallout puts billions at risk, and the pressure now sits squarely on the shoulders of one of Britain's most famous fashion names. Capri Holdings, once a symbol of American fashion ambition, is now grappling with losses on every front. The group recorded a staggering net loss of $1.2 billion for fiscal 2025, with overall revenue plunging 14%. Versace, once its Italian crown jewel, saw sales tumble and struggled to keep pace with rivals, while Jimmy Choo endured 3 straight quarters of operating losses. The much-hyped $8.5 billion merger with Tapestry was blocked by the FTC, leaving Capri without a lifeline. As each brand underperforms, the pressure compounds, turning Capri's multi-label empire from a growth engine into a crisis spreading across its entire portfolio. Michael Kors built its empire on the promise of affordable luxury, but now the numbers tell a brutal story. Revenue has plunged from $3.88 billion in 2023 to just $3 billion in 2025, and the operating margin has been cut in half to 10.1%. In Asia, sales have cratered by 27%, and wholesale partners are fleeing as bags pile up unsold. Outlet shelves are packed with totes that once sold for $350, now slashed to $99 or $149, prices that once seemed unthinkable for a so-called status symbol. Even founder Michael Kors admits the brand is suffering from fatigue, as years of relentless discounting have taught shoppers to never pay full price. The result is a brand once synonymous with aspiration, now drowning in its own bargains, with little hope of climbing back up the luxury ladder. Gucci's empire is unraveling faster than anyone thought possible. Revenue has crashed from €10.5 billion in 2022 to just €7.7 billion in 2024. Operating income has been slashed by more than half. Kering has scrambled to replace creative and executive leaders, but the bleeding has not stopped. Outlet shoppers now find Marmont and Dionysus bags, once status symbols at over €2,000, tagged at nearly half price. For a brand that once defined luxury, this kind of discounting is not just a bargain, it is a warning. If Gucci falters, the shockwaves could threaten Kering itself. Across all 8 brands, one pattern stands out. Accessible luxury is collapsing as middle-market buyers vanish. Today, only true exclusivity survives. The luxury market's middle is being erased, permanently.